I won't see you make him feel like a failure, too.
He won't be a failure, Sean.
But if you push him, Jerry, if you ride him...
About 2 years ago, I dropped out of Boise State and started working at a call center. I was there for a year before quitting without having anything else lined up, and now I'm unemployed. I'm on my third attempt at quitting porn. I can bench more than I can squat. And you know how we're supposed to be the main character in our own lives? Going off the structure of that analogy, I'm a villain of the week in the lives of about 3 different women. Does any of this make me a failure? Failure by definition is the inability to achieve something, but people ain't something. We live on past whatever was or wasn't achieved, so how do we define a failure as a person? I guess the obvious measurement would be someone who lacks success, but when does that window for success end? Is being a failure a temporary status that you inhabit until you achieve? You're born with nothing, and most people don't find any amount of conventional success until at least after high school. So at what point does your grace period end? A little while ago, I watched someone close to me finish rehab. The treatment center had a graduation ceremony, and the former patients got up to give speeches. Most of them said something along the lines of their stories were going to begin now that they'd freed themselves from the shackles of addiction. Of course, that's something you tell yourself when you invest months into not drinking, but it didn't come off as a platitude to me. Who am I or anyone else to tell them that it's too late for their lives to begin? There's no room for thoughtful interpretation by copping out with the answer, it's subjective. But to resolve what a failure is, I'm going to go with my own conviction. I think you're only a failure when you decide you are. As cliche as it sounds, if you're alive, you have time you could spend doing something to change your circumstances. You always have an infinite number of decisions open to you. Most of them ain't practical, but the option's always there. The Alchemist is a book by Paulo Coelho about a shepherd, Santiago, who sells his flock to fund a journey to Egypt after dreaming of finding treasure there. He's inspired to do so when a fortune teller interprets his dream as a sign of his personal legend. The easiest way to describe a personal legend is someone's purpose in life, and The Alchemist romanticizes the pursuit of that. There's a couple of things to note when chasing a personal legend. When you do pursue that dream, you are assisted by the universe, and you should never forego your personal legend for love, because if someone is your true love, then they would never interfere with your personal legend, nor would you lose them because of that. If I read that book any more than 2 or 3 years ago, I probably would have thought it was dog shit. A personal legend, true love, that sounds like 7 Deadly Sins dialogue. Having read it when I did, I love The Alchemist. I think you can make sense of the book's lessons if you ground them in reality a bit. When The Alchemist proposes that the universe conspires to help someone who's pursuing their personal legend, it's essentially saying that if you focus on something you're passionate about, you're less likely to waste time on other things. And if you continue to create opportunities for yourself, that increases your chances of success. There's not much to argue there. Mathematically, if you put time into something, then you have less to waste on potentially stupid shit. And statistically, you are more likely to find opportunities pursuing something than if you quit. As for the true love thing, I think the book is just saying that if you have a partner who fell in love with you, don't give yourself up to force the relationship to work. Then you'd stop being the person they fell in love with. That's true for your life. If you're unhappy with the way things are now, then you have time to change them. As long as you're alive, then you can make the decision to not be a failure. If you do, then you haven't failed. You're just still in the process. When you speak to yourself, never do it negatively. This doesn't mean don't admit fault or don't hold yourself accountable, but there's never a reason to insult yourself. Other people can do that. The only one who can change or atone for your mistakes is you. When you do something, even if it's truly horrible, accept it. Let yourself feel guilty, then let it go. You're not grounded by the past. You ain't a product of your previous mistakes. You're whatever you decide to be now. That's the only point in time you have control over. Think clearly and look forward. What is it you want to do? What's your personal legend? Maybe you don't have one or don't want to look at your life in a grandiose, corny way. That's fine. But what are you doing now, and does it make you happy? You can always enhance your life in smaller ways. Do a thought experiment with me. What happens if you don't brush your teeth for a night? Nothing. What happens if you don't brush your teeth for a year? Then you got Cartoon Network logo teeth. Make that idea positive and then reverse it. Little things add up. What stops you? What are your deepest fears? I'm afraid that I'll never be enough. I'm afraid that I'll go through the rest of my life without amounting to anything meaningful. I hide in comfort, I play on my phone or jerk off or eat shitty food to distract myself. There ain't nothing wrong with any of those things in moderation. There is when you do it compulsively to avoid the things you don't want to face. I think the biggest draw of porn for me was the escape, the depraved fantasy where everything plays out exactly how you'd want it to in your horniest state of mind. What do you do to hide from the world? Whatever it is, just don't do it as much. Unlearning things is hard, but just because you can't unlearn something in a day doesn't mean you shouldn't do it a little less. Having 99 needles in your ass is better than having 100. You're not a failure, neither am I. People make mistakes, they fall into poor habits. We protect ourselves, we push people away and cling on to ones that ain't good for us. We don't pursue the things we really want because trying means we could fail. Take these videos for instance. There's a good chance that no more than 100 people will ever see these. That's okay, I enjoy making them. Personal enjoyment is enough for me. It's more than I had a few months ago. Even if I dropped out of school, I loved being in Boise. Even if I fucked up with a lot of the women I dated, I was happy to meet them, and I hope they're doing well. Even if I want to move to a different city, I'm glad I got to meet the people I know now. Life's not always going to work out the way I imagined or hoped. That don't mean it was a failure. I'm so glad I got to be alive. And as long as I live, that means I continue to have opportunities to improve. Nothing you do is a failure. It's just a step forward.